Welcome, everybody. We will start with an opening prayer. His Eminence Archbishop Elbidaforos of America.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Βασιλεύ ουράνιε παράκλητε το πνεύμα της αληθείας, ο πανταχού παρών και τα πάντα πληρών, ο θησαυρός των αγαθών και ζωής χορηγός, ελθέ και σκήνωσον εν ημίν, και καθάρισον ημάς από πάσης κυλίδος και σώσον αγαθέ τας ψυχάς ημών. Αμήν.
Please be seated. Welcome, fellow delegates, brothers and sisters in Christ. As we begin the plenary session of this magnificent Clergy-Laity conference, we trust everyone had a wonderful week, and we are winding down with this session where we will have a series of reports. Some housekeeping rules. We will be guided by the plenary session rules of procedure, which are in your app under Delegate Info. Specifically, I draw your attention to paragraph 3 regarding delegates. Only duly certified clergy-laity Congress delegates may make motions, speak, or vote during the plenary session in accordance with Article 4 of the regulations of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America. Skipping to paragraph 6, speaking limitations. Delegates may address the Congress only upon recognition by the presiding officer. No delegate may speak for more than 2 minutes at a time. A delegate who has previously spoken on a pending question may be recognized to speak again only in the discretion of the presiding officer. The presiding officer may adjust these limitations as necessary to facilitate the orderly conduct of the Congress. And lastly, voting. In the event of a vote, each delegate is entitled to one vote. All questions shall be decided by a majority vote unless a greater vote is required pursuant to the regulations of the Archdiocese, these rules of procedure, or the parliamentary authority governing the Congress. Thank you for your attention to these rules. We will guide this meeting with respect and love in Christianity, and we will do the best we can.
Are you Christian?
If you're a delegate with a credential, please come forward, sit in front of the stanches. If you're not a delegate with a credential, please sit behind the stanches. This way, everybody knows who has a voting delegate credential with them. We're going to commence with some opening remarks. I don't think John was scared. John Katsamatidis, the vice chair. Oh, he's on Zoom. Okay. Thank you, Father Avagoras. Once again, you save us. If he's ready.
He's ready.
Okay, thank you, Father.
Είναι αντιπρόεδρος του Αρχιεπισκοπικού Συμβουλίου. Πρέπει να φύγει.
All right, I found the button. I'm unmuted. Okay, thank you.
Who's that?
Am I supposed to speak now?
Αυτός είναι.
Yes. Okay, I'm good. All right, thank you. Oh, thank you one and all for being here. I'm sorry I'm not there with you today because my wife fell and I think she might have broken her ankle and she needs an MRI today and we're just trying to get an appointment. And but she will be okay. I think we've accomplished so much in this Clergy-Laity Congress. We've accomplished more so than ever before of any other Clergy-Laity Congress. And we're all, as His Eminence said the other day, Oli Mazi. We're all moving together in the same direction for our church and the future of Hellenism in the United States of America and the world. And we're putting it all together. We have managed, His Eminence has done a wonderful job creating the Archdiocese that has a great management team, better than it's ever been in my 40 years of service to the Archdiocese. And I look forward to continuing to go forward. And we have to save a religion, because religion is under attack. And I've said that. I interviewed this morning, the Secretary or Assistant Secretary of State for Global Affairs, and we discussed Christianity, and we have to save Christianity. And President Trump, he says to me, President Trump is dedicated to that. And I know we're setting up a meeting with His Eminence, the Archbishop, to talk to the President, because the free world and religion has to be saved, and there's only one person to save it, Washington, D.C. And right now, President Trump is the president. And like I've always said, to me, religion and the free world is important for all. It's not about being a Democrat, not about being a Republican, not about being an independent, because common sense has to prevail. So I am pro-common sense Democrats, I am pro-common sense Republicans, and I am pro-common sense independents, and Christianity and the Christian Judeo rules of civilization have to prevail. And thank you, one and all, for participating in this 3-4 day conference. And Oli Mazi, and let's all work together. Thank you so much. Your Eminence.
Thank you, John, for joining us, and we wish your wife the best of health.
You know, having a bad ankle is, we hope it gets fixed the right way. Thank you so much.
God bless.
A few prayers from everybody. The one thing I learned in life, positive vibes help. And thank you all for saying a little prayer for Margaret.
Thank you, John. Without further ado, please stand and help me welcome His Eminence Archbishop Elpidophoros of America.
Thank you. Please be seated. Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ. Thank you so much. Thank you, John, and I pray your wife gets better. Thank you, Mr. Karakostas. Your Eminences, most honorable representatives of our Ecumenical Patriarchate, Metropolitan Arsenios of Austria, Philotheos of Thessaloniki, and Very Reverend Grand Archimandrite Iakovos Krochak, Your Eminence Metropolitan Savas, our host hierarch, my dear brother hierarchs, Your Eminences, members of the Holy Eparchial Synod, Your Eminences, Your Graces, Very Reverend and Reverend Fathers, Presbyteres, Archons of the Ecumenical Patriarchate, dear delegates, as we begin this plenary session, we arrive at one of the most important responsibilities entrusted to us as the Clergy-Laity Congress. Throughout this week, we have worshipped together. We have learned from one another. We have exchanged ideas, and we have reflected upon the future of our parishes and our communities. Now, we turn our attention to the governance of our Archdiocese, exercising together the sacred responsibility that has been entrusted to us. Our theme this week has been Rise and Build, drawn from the book of Nehemiah. Nehemiah reminds us that rebuilding requires more than vision. It requires also planning. It requires stewardship. It requires accountability. And above all, it requires that the people of God labor together with one heart and one purpose. The reports you will hear this morning from our administration and finance committees are not simply rote representations. They are a reflection of our shared commitment to responsible stewardship and to continued strengthening of our Archdiocese. This year, we have also taken another significant step toward greater transparency by expanding opportunities for participation through pre-Congress financial presentations and question and answer sessions. We have realigned our process according to the regulations to ensure that we preserve the sanctity of the wonderful work the Finance Committee is tasked with. Hundreds of clergy and lay leaders joined these online meetings. They asked thoughtful questions, engaged in meaningful dialogue before arriving here in Cleveland. I am grateful to everyone who participated in that process, because transparency is not merely about sharing information. It is about building trust. It's about encouraging participation. It's about ensuring that every faithful steward understands how we are caring for the resources entrusted to us. One of the most important developments reflected in this proposed budget is the influence of the CARA survey. Thousands of faithful from across our Archdiocese shared their hopes, shared their concerns, and shared their priorities for the future of our church. We listened carefully. The proposed budget that lies before you reflects those priorities by directing greater attention and resources toward parish health, toward ministry development, toward clergy support, youth and young adult ministries, evangelism, communications, and the strengthening of the local church. In other words, this budget is not simply a financial document. It is a response to your voice and a reflection of our collective discernment. This is precisely what conciliar governance looks like. We listen, we pray, we deliberate, and then together we make decisions for the good of the church. I ask each of you to approach the reports and the discussions that follow in the same spirit. Ask questions. Ask questions with sincerity. Listen. Listen with respect. Speak. Speak with charity. Remember that we are not gathered as opposing sides, but as fellow laborers in the vineyard of Christ, united by our love for His church and by our desire to see it flourish for the generations to come. May our deliberations today be guided by wisdom, strengthened by mutual respect, and inspired always by the Holy Spirit, so that together we may continue to rise and build for the glory of God and the life of His Holy Church. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Eminence. At this time, we will hear a report from our National Chancellor, His Grace Bishop Nectarios of Dioclea. Your Grace.
Your Eminence, Archbishop Elpidoforos of America, most honorable representatives of the Ecumenical Patriarchate, Your Eminence Metropolitan of Ostia Arsenios, and Your Eminence Metropolitan of Thessaloniki Philotheos, very Reverend Grand Archimandrite Iakovos, Your Eminences, Your Graces, Fathers, and distinguished delegates representing parishes of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese. As National Chancellor of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese, I serve at the discretion of His Eminence Archbishop Elpidoforos, and I'm deeply grateful for the privilege of working under his visionary leadership. Together across every level of our Archdiocese, from the national offices to our metropolises and parishes, we are building a church that is more united, more efficient, more effective in its sacred mission to serve our people. The spirit of collaboration that defines our work is unprecedented, and it's precisely the shared commitment that makes us stronger together. In the National Chancellor's Office, I am blessed to work alongside a dedicated team, Father Greg Guinardis and Maria Saris, who join me in serving with excellence and care. At the heart of our ministry is the well-being, formation, and support of our clergy. Our office attends to their well-being, promotes ongoing formation, and work closely with Clergy Benefits Office. We also work in close partnership with the Archdiocese Presbyteros Council, Clergy Care and Development Committee of the Archdiocese Council. Our office maintains comprehensive records for all clergy and parishes across the United States. With the generous support of Leadership 100, we successfully completed the digitization of all clergy files since the last Clergy-Laity Congress. This milestone has transformed our operations, allowing us to serve with greater speed, accuracy, and accessibility. Building on the foundation, we are now actively digitizing all parish files of the Archdiocese. Now, as part of our process, all documents are automatically digitized. In addition, the National Chancellor's Office is entrusted by the Holy Eparchial Synod with the review and processing of all applications for ordination, as well as petitions for incardination from other Orthodox ecclesial bodies. Before the Archbishop approves any candidate for ordination, our office is tasked to prepare all the documents of the candidate and coordinate psychological evaluation. Once all documents are collected, we meet as a committee before I present the final recommendations to the Archbishop. Upon his approval, the Archbishop is the one that makes the first church assignment of the candidate to be ordained. Along with ordination candidates, we collect all documents for clergy that have been approved by His Eminence Archbishop Elpidoforos to come to serve at the GOA on loan from other countries or from other jurisdictional presences. As the Palestinian Slavic vicariates are directly under the omophorion of His Eminence Archbishop Elpidoforos, as National Chancellor, I coordinate with the clergy for their needs. I would like to stress that clergy in these vicariates are clergy under the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese. I ask that you give vicariate clergy the same respect as you do to our clergy and support them as they start new parishes and minister to their people. The Palestinian Vicariate has clergy predominantly of Palestinian and Jordanian descent, and the Vicariate was created to encompass the clergy and several communities in the U.S. which have been under the Patriarchate of Jerusalem. Currently, the Vicariate has 6 parishes, 4 missions, and 1 academy served by 10 clergymen. As National Chancellor, my office acts on behalf of His Eminence regarding matters of ordinations, registry, and other ecclesial issues for the Vicariate. Since the last Congress, there were no new incardinations. The Slavic Vicariate has clergy predominantly from Ukrainian descent and some of Russian descent. The Slavic Orthodox Vicariate is a canonical structure within the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese, which unites parishes of the Slavic tradition represented in America, established by the Holy and Sacred Synod of the Ecumenical Patriarchate, which was announced by His Eminence Archbishop Epidophoros on March 9th, 2020. Currently, there are 11 communities, 2 schools, and 1 monastery served by 22 clergymen. Since the last Congress, there were no new ordinations to the priesthood and 6 new incardinations. Registry, a project that has been in the works for years and it is the final stages with the developer, is the digitization of the National Registry. This initiative seeks to ensure the accurate preservation, accessibility, and consistency of sacramental records throughout the Archdiocese. Is coordinated by the registry through Father Sophronius Vomend and is overseen by the National Chancellery. It will offer the ability to all registrars of the metropolises to process sacramental paperwork digitally with their parishes. This will allow the metropolises to have a working database with a record of all their sacraments available to them. We're expecting that the developer will be ready to launch this project in the next few weeks. We are thankful for Leadership 100 for funding these initiatives. Scholarship funds. The Chancellor's Office also coordinates and administers 6 scholarships for students seeking a secondary degree throughout the country and abroad. These include Giolis and Malta scholarships, the Paleologos Scholarship, the Taylor Scholarship, Trakatellis Scholarship, the Tembelis Scholarship, and in this past year, Angelina Lysidis Scholarship. Since 2024 Clergy-Laity Congress, more than $1 million in financial assistance has been distributed throughout the 6 scholarship funds of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America, administered by the Chancellery and approved by His Eminence Archbishop Elpidophoros. The Chancellor's Office maintains a close relationship with the recently established Office of National Ministries of the Archdiocese, an initiative that enhances collaboration, supports clergy and lay ministry leaders, and strengthens parishes' life across the Archdiocese. These ministries include, among others, the National Youth Office, Religious Education, Greek Education, each contributing in vital ways to the growth and vibrancy of parish life. In this context, the establishment of the Archdiocese Office of National Ministries has introduced a more coordinated and strategic approach to ministry, one that seeks to equip clergy and lay people, strengthen parish communities, and guide resources where they will most effectively support the life of the Church. The Archbishop has assigned Theo Nikolakis as the National Ministry Director, and we are excited for this great work he has done coordinating the ministries. Youth safety. At the same time, initiatives such as youth safety continue to expand in scope, ensuring that all who work in camps and parishes are properly trained and prepared to safeguard the well-being of our youth. This has been an ongoing project, and we hope to get to 100% compliance status by all parishes, to have parish council members and youth workers to go through background checks and youth safety training. The Freedom Ministry likewise remains an integral part of a broader effort, offering ongoing education, training, and resources to raise awareness of human trafficking and to support the Archdiocese in responding faithfully and responsibly to this critical issue. Father Peter Spiro is a person leading this charge and bringing awareness of human trafficking in the United States. Together, these ministries reflect a unified and forward-looking commitment to building up healthy, vibrant parish communities and strengthening the witness of the Archdiocese throughout the country. Ionian Village Camp. Ionian Village is the most prestigious camp of our Greek Orthodox Archdiocese, with newly appointed director, Father Stephen Klund, overseeing the camp for the 2nd year. I say prestigious because the camp takes place in Greece at Vartholomew and gives our youth the opportunity to experience camping life fully immersed in the Greek culture. It is an amazing experience that each young person should attend at least once in their lifetime. For those that did not get an opportunity to visit Ione Village, there is another beautiful program, IV Next, which is for young adults. This is offered to age groups after high school. I ask that you promote Ione Village in your parishes, and if possible, every parish should offer scholarship to send one of their young people there to attend. African American ministry. The vision of His Eminence Archbishop Elpidoforos has established the African American and Spanish ministry. As a church that we have surpassed 100 years from the establishment of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese by the Ecumenical Patriarchate, and we have made great strides, especially in this 250th anniversary year of the founding of our country. It seems time to embrace the broader fabric of society of Americans in the United States. We are seeing fruits of this ministry taking place in Father Samuel Davis, Father Chrysostom Onyekake from Nigeria. I hope I got it right. They have baptized tens of their parishioners that have come to embrace the Orthodox faith. We are excited of this beautiful and edifying ministry in seeing our Archdiocese growing. Archbishop Elpidoforos Camp Scholarship Fund. The Archbishop Elpidoforos Camp Scholarship Fund was established about 3 years ago. When we started having the Archbishop's Name Day Gala, the Archbishop wanted money to be raised in support of our youth of our Archdiocese. He wanted to support our Archdiocese youth camps because it is one of the most transformational experiences for our youth. The Name Day Gala takes place in the Archdiocese district and raises every year a gross amount over $500,000. I think this is, thank you, Your Eminence, your vision. Hundreds of thousands of dollars have already been distributed to all the metropolis camps, including Ione Village. This year alone, about $140,000 has been distributed to scholarships for youth attending Ione Village, and approximately $15,000 to each metropolis to young people attending the metropolis's camps and Archdiocese district camp. Chancellor's meetings. In our scheduled chancellor's meetings, we work to further strengthen the spirit of collaboration and shared purpose between the National Chancellery and the chancellors of the metropolises and the Archdiocese district. Through regular meetings marked by openness, mutual support, and a common commitment to addressing the needs of our clergy, these gatherings have proven both fruitful and constructive. In addition, at the direction of His Eminence Archbishop Elpidoforos, have begun visiting the offices of the metropolises, working collaboratively to review and organize clergy files and to help streamline processes across the Archdiocese. This ongoing collaboration continues to foster greater consistency, efficiency, and unity in the service of our clergy throughout the country. I would like to express my deep appreciation to all the metropolis' chancellors and the Archdiocese District Chancellor as we all work together throughout the year in collaboration and a common purpose. Hellenic College and Holy Cross Seminary. As the National Chancellor, I have regular visits to Holy Cross School of Theology to meet with seminarians at least twice a year. We hope this will foster greater connections with the Archdiocese so they can come to recognize that the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese is there to support not only seminarians, but all its clergy across the country. I have worked closely with the President and the administration of HCHC to receive, upon the graduation, recommendation reports for each seminarian from the President, indicating strengths and weaknesses. This report is mandatory for each seminarian so that the National Chancellery has information for future ordination candidates to ensure they have received the correct ecclesiastical formation and are ready to serve our parishes in the United States. The Chancellery Office also recognizes the senior trip for graduating class of Holy Cross of Theology to the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America. Since 2022, this initiative has become a consistent and anticipated part of the students' formation, offering them valuable opportunity to experience firsthand the life and work of the Archdiocese. Some clergy statistics. Since the most recent Clergy-Laity Congress, which was held in San Diego, California in 2024, there have been 38 individuals ordained to the Holy Diaconate. Of these, 13 were ordainations to the Special Permanent Diaconate Program, a course of study established by the Holy Eparchial Synod to facilitate the diaconal ordination of individuals to meet the growing needs of the parishes of the Archdiocese. During the same period of time, 20 deacons were ordained presbyters, and 4 of our priests were released into other jurisdictions. Additionally, 10 new applications for apostasy on loan and 6 incardinations into our sacred Archdiocese have been approved. Moreover, 28 of our priests officially retired from active service, while 25 clergymen fell asleep in the Lord. Of those that fell asleep in the Lord, we have 1 metropolitan that passed away, Metropolitan Demetrios of Xanthos, and 1 bishop, Bishop Timotheos of Examilion. May their memories be eternal. A greater effort needs to take place to promote and speak in our parishes about the calling to serve our church as a clergyman. As we are all the ecclesia, we are all responsible to cultivate this calling in our youth. Since the last Clergy-Laity Congress, 2 mission parishes have been issued charters. During the past 2 years, no monastic community was established. Our Archdiocese is taking an important step towards strengthening the health and flourishing of the clergy and clergy families by laying the groundwork for clergy family wellness ministries at the parish, metropolises, and Archdiocese level. To this, properly, we need your voice. You will be invited in the immediate future to complete a confidential 20 to 25-minute survey developed in collaboration with the Danielson Institute at Boston University, a team that has long served our clergy and clergy families with care, clinical expertise, and respect for our Orthodox faith. This survey is not an evaluation, but an opportunity to be heard about your challenges, your sources of strength, and what would genuinely support your well-being in ministry. Your thoughtful participation will directly shape how the Church responds, serves, and plans for the future. I strongly encourage our clergy and clergy spouses to take part in this important effort for the sake of our clergy brotherhood, our families, and the life of the Church. The Chancellery coordinates with all the metropolises and Archdiocese district to gather updated information throughout the year, along with affiliate organizations, so that the Archdiocese directory can be prepared and printed. The directory is distributed to all parishes and clergy of our holy and sacred Archdiocese. For everyone else, the directory is available on our website with updates. The Archdiocese has established a captive insurance company to achieve greater financial control, customized coverage, and long-term stability. This initiative reflects a conservative strategic approach to aligning our insurance and risk management program with the unique needs of the Archdiocese and metropolises. For now, the captive insurance has already started being implemented to lower insurance premiums at the Archdiocese and metropolises level. The long-term goal for this to serve all the parishes through the integral approach to risk management. Our buying power as a group is much stronger than any one parish. I would like to thank George Anderson for his suggestion for making this proper preparations in establishing the captive insurance initiative. The long-term benefit of this initiative includes customized coverage, flexibility, enhanced control, building reserves, predictable costs, and reduced parish insurance premiums. Greek Orthodox National parish insurance program. This initiative is being explored to assess the viability as a solution to rising insurance costs faced by parishes nationwide. If deemed feasible, this program will aim to provide tailored insurance solutions and long-term stability for parishes. Benefits for parishes: it's voluntary participation, local broker collaboration, maintains relationships with the local brokers, tailored coverage, policies designed for Greek Orthodox churches, high-quality providers covered by top-rated insurance companies, cost savings, potential for better coverage at lower costs, market stability, controls risk and ensures future consistency. It is critical for parishes to submit the requested information, as their participation will help determine the program's feasibility and success. Information is available with reports provided in the Clergy-Laity Congress portal. As parish delegates, I ask that you go back to your parishes and provide us with information needed to allow us to work together to make our churches and the Archdiocese as a whole much stronger. These initiatives highlight the immense benefits of the Archdiocese and metropolises working together by pooling resources, expertise, and shared goals. We are creating innovative solutions that will protect our people, reduce costs, and ensure stability for years to come. Together, we are building a stronger, more resilient future. At this point, I would like to express my deep appreciation to Father Evagoras Konstantinidis, along with Maria Andriotis, for putting together and coordinating this year's Clergy-Laity Congress in conjunction with Elaine Allen. Thank you. Thank you all for listening, and hope that we can all work together to live up to this year's Clergy-Laity Congress theme, Rise and Build. As you hear how much effort goes to govern the Church, you may come to appreciate the efforts that we could truly see our Greek Orthodox Archdiocese flourish at a time that our country needs us the most. This is our time to shine as Orthodox. Let us live up to our calling. Your Eminence, Archbishop Epidophoros, thank you once again for allowing me to serve as your National Chancellor.
Thank you, Your Grace, for that wonderful report. At this time, as we continue through the reports, we will hear from the Administration Committee. Please join me in welcoming the Chair, Ted Theofilos.
Your Eminence, Archbishop Epidophoros, esteemed clergy, sisters and brothers of the laity, my name's Ted Theofilos. It's been my honor to serve on the Administrative Committee of the Archdiocesan Council for these last 2 years. I would like to provide a brief report about a particularly important initiative that we've been working on over the course of the last 16 months or so. Before I begin that report, though, I would be remiss in not acknowledging and thanking Metropolitan Gerasimos for his leadership on the committee, his steadfastness in guiding us through what are some rather complicated and sensitive issues. I also want to thank the other members of the clergy and laity who have worked so diligently on this particular review. In May of 2025, the Executive Committee of the Archdiocesan Council tasked the Administrative Committee to review Article 5 of the Archdiocese regulations. Article 5, many of you may know, pertains to the election of new metropolitans and new auxiliary bishops. over the course of the years since the initial enactment of that particular regulation, it was becoming increasingly difficult to administer the regulation as written and to create a list of eligible candidates, solicit the guidance and comments on those hierarchical candidates from the laity and clergy also proved difficult to administer. We set to the task with preliminary discussions that took place over a series of several meetings with the administrative and the legal committee. And again, I would like to thank His Eminence Metropolitan Apostolos for his active participation in joining us in the Joint Committee, Your Eminence, and Paul Lilios, the co-chair of the Legal Committee, whose help was instrumental in moving these proposed amendments to fruition. It was decided after a few meetings that the type of detailed drafting that would be necessary to amend these provisions really required a subcommittee, and that subcommittee met on various occasions and reached a conclusion with respect to a recommendation. The substance of the proposed amendments was to create a process whereby there would be a list of eligible candidates for hierarchical positions that would be established and maintained, that there would be uniform criterion for those qualifications that would be created, and very importantly for this assembly, that there would be the ability efficiently to get the feedback and guidance of the laity on those candidates. Now, where we are in the process, I want to emphasize, is I can't share with you any definitive language about the amendment, because where we are in the process is that last May, the Joint Administrative and Legal Committee met, approved proposed language, and that has now been referred to the Eparchal Synod for their consideration and feedback. Once we receive that feedback, the Administrative Committee will present it to the Executive Committee, and then depending upon what the conclusions from the Executive Committee will move forward with the proper process for passage and ultimately patriarchal ratification. It's hoped that this process will be completed sometime in calendar year 2026. But that's where we are. Please stay tuned with respect to this initiative. And I do want to say again, Your Eminence, what an honor it's been to serve you, and look forward to completing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted. Continuing with our reports, at this time, we'll go to the finance report. Please join me in welcoming our treasurer, Elaine Allen.
Let's see if my slides are up, please. Okay, wonderful. Your Eminence, Archbishop Elpidophoros, Your Eminence Metropolitan Arsenios of Austria, Your Eminence Metropolitan of Thessaloniki, Philotheos, very Reverend Archimandrite Iakovos, Grand Archimandrite Iakovos, all of our eminences that are here on the dais and with us today, Your Graces, very Reverend and Reverend Fathers, our beloved presbyteres, and all of our brothers and sisters in Christ. I greet you today to talk about our Archdiocese and its financial status. And in doing so, I would like to do a few things today. One is to talk about our financial status as we are today, but I'd like to do a reflective, to talk about what we have accomplished over the last 2 years to give you tangible evidence in a transparent way as to where we were and where we are now since our last Clergy-Laity Congress. And then, of course, to focus on where we are going. So that's our objective for my portion of this finance presentation. So I reflect to the beginning of this Clergy-Laity Congress and the comments that His Eminence Archbishop Opidoforo spoke to us about from the book of Nehemiah, and our theme that you've heard repeatedly of rise and build. Well, I'm going to make a bold statement. In the area of the finances of the Archdiocese, we have risen and we have built. But, and there is a but, we are working in the vineyard of the Lord. And so we have more work to do. We have established a solid financial foundation on which we will build an upward trajectory. That is our goal. You also heard His Eminence in his comments mention that when it comes to finances, it doesn't just happen. It requires people, it requires policies and procedures and discipline, it requires investments, and it requires systems. And in the area of how we operate as an archdiocese, including its metropolises, we work with our finance committee, our National Finance Committee. And at the head of that finance committee is Archon Lou Kirkos, who I've had the pleasure to work with since the days of the financial crisis in 2017. Lou is a collaborative individual, but more importantly than his financial acuity is his generosity of heart, of spirit, of treasure, always looking for how we can balance the needs of our parishes, the needs of our metropolis, and the needs of our archdiocese. So thank you, Lou. Thank you, Lou, for all you do. We couldn't achieve any of this, though, without also our finance department at the Archdiocese. It's small, but it's mighty, and is led by Father Sotirios Baroudi, who is our CFO. And of course, all of the support that comes from our Metropolis Finance Committee. So thank you all. What would a treasurer's report be without numbers? So I know that it may be difficult for some of you to see the numbers on the screens. So you will find on the app, on the mobile app, if you go into the app, under plenary, all of our reports are there. So if you want to follow along, you can do so either there. These reports are also available for you to take back to your parishes on clergylaity.org. So let's commence. Oops. Want to go back one. There we go. Okay. So as I mentioned, the Archdiocese remains financially stable. 8 years of meeting budget. 8 years of our revenues exceeding our expenses. Unheard of in our past history. But you need money to be able to operate. And so we have built liquidity, and I will show you those numbers over time. And they are increasing. And you in the audience might ask, well, why is that necessary? It's necessary because we need to make the investments that you heard about throughout this Congress to be able to serve the parishes better, to assist you with your growth. That takes money, and we can't always fund that through the current operating budget. We also have tried to be responsible in how we are managing our risk management. As you've heard me speak before, due to the lifting of the statute of limitations, we have sexual misconduct cases that go back many years, many of which we cannot find insurance for or don't have adequate insurance for. And so we need the reserves to be able to manage through this in the years ahead. The captive insurance company that we have established is one such mechanism, and the reserves that we have at the Archdiocese are a second. We also need these funds for unexpected circumstances that may arise in the future. We believe that we have a solid zero-based budgeting process in place to assist us with that, but when the need arises and we're asked to respond, the liquidity allows us to do so. You've also heard me speak in the past about our priorities: Hellenic College, Holy Cross, the pension plan, and we continue to meet those obligations. In 2025, our funding to Hellenic College, Holy Cross, based on its cash flow needs and the request that came from the school, was funding of $3.1 million. When you turn to the pension plan received from the Archdiocese roughly $2 million in 2025, or roughly 18% of the $10.9 million that went into the plan. $10.9 million went into the pension plan for our clergy in 2025. Again, unprecedented. And you heard it from His Eminence. You've also heard it perhaps in other sessions that at the end of May, the pension plan stood at 70% funded. When we started this new funding model, beginning of 2021, we were 53% funded. Now, some of you may say to me, well, 70% is good, Elaine, we've done better, but shouldn't we be at 100%? Well, let me tell you that we're not an ERISA pension plan, we're a church plan. But if we were an ERISA pension plan, we would be considered fully funded at 80%. So we don't have far to go to get to the standard that would be one where we were an ERISA plan. So again, being very deliberate, being very diligent, thankful to our parishes for supporting our pension funding plan. You're going to hear more about this from Lou Kirkos, so I'm not going to make a lot of other comments about the plan. Okay, so here are the numbers, and this is why I said you may want to look at your app. So I went back to 2017. As for those of you that were here in 2017, you know that this was a difficult financial time in the life of our Archdiocese. And if you look at the numbers, you will see that in 2017, we had negative unrestricted resources. We were in a deficit. The chart shows $4.5 million. The real number, when you take out the investment in fixed assets, was $10 million of accumulated operating deficit in 2017. Fast forward to 2025, $14 million, a swing of $24 million in unrestricted resources over that span of time, 8 years. If you look at the highlighted yellow numbers on the top of the chart, you'll see total assets. Total assets went from $22 million in 2017 to $56 million at the end of 2025. And of course, we have also at the bottom, when you look at our restricted and unrestricted resources, our total net assets, or our total worth, if you will. We started in 2017 at almost $7 million, and we end up at $43 million at the end of 2025. Now, you might say to me, well, how did that happen? Well, it's never one thing that results in this kind of trajectory. Few things happened. One, we had cost control. Now, in 2017, the Archdiocese employed roughly 120 people. There were 120 employees at the Archdiocese back then. Many of you will recall that we had to make the very difficult decision to separate with many of our employees, some of whom were long-term and very dedicated servants to our church. But the financial situation necessitated it. So after those terminations, we were down to 85 people. Today, at the end of 2025, we're operating with 55 people. Right, yeah, I heard someone say, wow, yeah. 50% reduction in our head count, in our employee base. It's not sustainable. You saw throughout this Congress the work that we are trying to accomplish. And yes, we are using independent contractors. And yes, we are bringing just-in-time workers. And yes, we are hiring subject matter experts to assist us with all this. But we also need to grow our staff. We need to have a succession plan. And so part of what the budgets you'll hear about today from Lou Kirkos are our first step at trying to address the workforce we need in order to be able to deliver to you. I want to turn also to liquidity. So again, I go back to 2017. Now, if you look at this chart, you look at the numbers on the bottom in the yellow, you'll see that we basically were illiquid. We didn't have enough money to pay our bills, in simple terms, by $3 million. The only way we stayed afloat was we borrowed restricted money. And we had to put it back, which we did in 2018. And today we stand at close to $10 million in liquidity, a swing of $13 million, again, due to the efforts that I described previously. But this is where we are from a liquidity perspective. And you can see year after year after year, we're adding to those reserves so that we are able to deal with the challenges we face in the future. Now, this slide is interesting because for those of you in the room that have been around for a while, you may recall the days of where the Archdiocese was in debt. And we've turned that around from being a borrower of funds to a lender of funds to support our institutions that require assistance. So we have provided, as you've heard me speak before, assistance to St. Nicholas National Shrine, principally in the area of certain of its operating expenses as it refined its business model. At the end of 2025, we had borrowings from them or to them of about $2 million in total. We expect to continue through 2026 and then eliminate it in 2027, excuse me. We also provided support for the construction of St. Michael's Home, the new facility in Uniondale, through a combination of grants where we received bequests that were specifically for that purpose, and also lent them funds, $2.5 million, which is bearing interest at this point for a period of about 1 year in 2024, going into 2025. It was interest-free. And lastly, we've made a strategic investment in St. Demetrius of Astoria. That is our only pre-K through high school in the country. and it is extremely important from our perspective of preserving our Greek education and culture. But we realize that those funds come from our parishes, so we couldn't just provide them with a subsidy or a grant to get them through some difficult times. And instead what we did was we acquired an interest in a mixed-use building, not a church or not their school, but a mixed-use building for the $3 million. We expect to complete that transaction actually in this month as a way to provide an infusion of funds into that parish. We've also been able to hire strategic consultants who are helping us not only with the model for St. Demetrius Astoria, but for every parochial school that we operate, looking at new models of funding, new models of governance, how to enhance teacher salaries, and how to enhance professional development. So these are just a few examples of where the strength of our balance sheet and our archdiocese directly is impacting affiliated institutions. So a little bit about what we have accomplished since 2024. As I mentioned, our financial position continues to be strong. It's due to a few factors. One, we have diligent budgets put together with input from across our archdiocese, from our finance committees, through our governance process at the executive committee, as well as the Archdiocesan Council. We fundraise. The total commitment, depending on the year, only provides 60 to 65% of the resources we need. The rest of it, as we committed to you at the 2020 Clergy-Laity Congress, comes from other sources. First and foremost, Leadership 100, I see them in the front. Also, other sources such as the Lilly Endowment, earned income, other restricted resources. And believe it or not, we do not have one fundraising person on staff at the Archdiocese. We do this all ourselves through the directors and others that work for the Archdiocese and have other roles as well. I would also be remiss if I didn't say that obviously we are the beneficiary of strong financial markets. We have an investment committee with professionals in that area that actively and diligently monitor our investments. We have investment policies, asset allocations, all the things that you would expect from an organization of our size, and we have reaped the benefits. I talked about liquidity. I talked about the reason that we need it, but you'll also see beyond what we face in terms of contingent liabilities, these resources are available for us to manage not only our current needs, but also our future needs. And our restricted resources are there for the scholarship funds that His Grace Bishop Nectarios talked about, but also for disaster relief and for many other national ministry programs that are funded by Leadership 100. His Grace mentioned the captive insurance company. He stole my thunder, but I will just tell you that the captive insurance company that we established at the end of 2023 is now funded with $2.7 million. That money is principally available for us to manage through, to a partial extent at least, those legal cases I mentioned to you earlier. But we also put in a second plan to help us with the metropolises and their property and casualty insurance, where the deductibles had risen to a level that was hard for a metropolis to sustain. And we will be using that captive for other initiatives as well that are for the benefit of our parish. Ultimately, what we want to do is to use that captive insurance company to lower the costs for metropolises and parishes and take the profits from the insurance companies and reinvest it into our parishes and archdiocese. That's the objective. And then on the debt side, our debt is limited to really a mortgage that we took out in 2018, which we are diligently paying off over a 30-year amortization period. We were very, very lucky to be able to refinance that at a time when interest rates were relatively low. So we've got a 4% mortgage that matures in 2028. And we also have some limited funding from the COVID EIDL program that was out there, which many of you also were able to avail yourselves at 2.75%. So our debt is about $4.5 million against, as I showed you, total assets in excess of $40 million. That's a pretty good ratio, I would say. Where are we? Okay. Net assets. Our net assets at the end of 2025, unrestricted, $14.1 million. Another almost $30 million in restricted assets. I've gone through some of the reasons why we needed these funds, but I also want to talk about a few others. Because we have a strong balance sheet, we were now able to do something we were never able to do before, and that is to begin to address the medical insurance cost for those participating in the OHP plan, our clergy. I hear some clapping, thank you. We have now been able, working with the carrier, Aetna. By the way, we went out for RFP, and we did stay with Aetna. It was a joint effort between the Archdiocese and the Archdiocesan Benefits Committee, because they had the best pricing for us. But we were able to move from a fully insured plan to a self-funded plan. Again, taking on some more calculated risk by us, but allowing us to lower premiums. So in the first year, the parishes saw a decrease of the premiums of 10%. In this market for insurance, in the subsequent year, there was an increase of 10%. So over the 2 years, flat in this insurance market, which was a success. Now we have more work to do. We're not done. We will continue to look at ways to bring our costs down without diminishing the benefits to our clergy and their families, because that is our priority, and be responsible in doing so. The risk that we assumed as the Archdiocese was a cash flow one. We could not have done that previously because we could not have made that level of commitment into the medical insurance program if we didn't have a strong balance sheet. Let me just take you now through what the operations look like. Now, this is a 6-year look back. And again, you will see our revenues in 2020, total commitment revenues, $22 million up to $25.7 million in 2025, an increase over that period of time. 16%, TC has gone up over 6 years. But let's look at the expense line. Expenses have gone from 29 million up to 32 million, up 11%. So we control the cost. We kept the TC increases to the parishes to a reasonable level, and that allowed us to build the reserves that we need for the reasons I described previously. So here you can see very clearly over time the progress that we have made from our operations. Just to give you a few more numbers, and then I'm going to stop with the numbers. In 2025, you will see that our revenues went up by $500,000 over 2024. But 2024 was a Clergy-Laity Congress year. So on an apples-to-apples basis, we were able to grow our revenues by over $2 million in 2025, based on the reasons that I described to you. Fundraising, strong financial markets, and a modest increase in total commitment, which was about $700,000 of that $2.1 million increase. But none of this is possible without the strong support of Leadership 100. We need to applaud the efforts of Leadership 100. And I'm going to explain, more so than just the number, why this is so important to the operations and our ability to deliver. In 2025, Leadership 100 granted $3 million to us. We all know there were difficulties in the past due to the financial markets, the ability for Leadership 100 to grant us funds. But it's not just providing us $3 million. The operating budgets of the Archdiocese basically just pay for salaries and fringe benefits and keeping the lights on with very little discretionary funds. We cannot operate ministry, any form of national ministry, or any form of investment in technology and innovation and digitization without Leadership 100. All the money that comes for us to hire consultants, hire subject matter experts, convene conferences, it's all Leadership 100. You will see when Lou gets up here and talks about the budget, we now are laying out the budget for you to see how much is coming from total commitment, how much is coming from restricted resources, and how much we really are spending on our ability to deliver ministry. If we didn't have Leadership 100, we would not be able to have had over 60 workshops talking about deliverables for the parishes. So thank you again, Leadership 100. I also, I know His Grace mentioned His Eminence's Name Day Gala, and that we have fundraised over, it's been in operation for 3 years, and on a net basis, because His Grace talked about gross numbers, I look at what do we actually take home and put in the bank. We put in the bank $1.3 million over that 3-year period. But more importantly, we benefited 1,000 campers with financial assistance over a 3-year period to be able to go to our Metropolis camps in Ionian Village. It's a real success story, and we're not done. For those of you that say, well, what about the other side of the ledger, Elaine? What about our expenses? We've done our best to continue to control expenses. You can read the slide up there, and you can see that our expenses are really being contained as best as we can. We do regularly go out for RFPs. We require we require bids when we are procuring large services. We're doing all the kinds of things that are best practices in corporate America. We also are focused, though, on how we can continue to be more efficient. And one of the areas that we see efficiency is through our continuing efforts to use technology, AI, in the delivery of service. And so you will see us in the future with more investment in digitization, in utilization of Salesforce, which is how we basically are managing through our relationships, and other areas. And so while we're containing cost, we're also trying to become more efficient. Now, the Clergy-Laity Congress is a very daunting task for anyone to undertake. I hope you've all enjoyed it, but from a financial perspective, it's expensive. From a logistical perspective, it's daunting. And it's all done by staff and volunteers and our host metropolises. But in the past, the Clergy-Laity Congress burdened the operating budget. No longer. In 2024, we had a very successful Clergy-Laity Congress in San Diego under His Eminence Metropolitan Yerasimos, and it generated a profit that was shared 50-50 with the metropolis. This Clergy-Laity Congress is headed towards the same result. Obviously, we don't have the numbers yet. We've raised over $2.1 million through sponsorships, registrations, the support, again, of Leadership 100 to be able to put this on. The reason we have so many people here at the Clergy-Laity Congress is because we went to Leadership 100 and we said, we have an idea. We would like to bring ministry leaders to the Congress. We would like to have the fullness of the church here. We'd like to have our retired clergy. We'd like to have our presbyteros here. But it's a financial burden. Would you help us, leadership? And they did. They gave us $200,000 to subsidize the registrations for our ministry leaders, of which we've had a couple of hundred show up at the Clergy-Laity Congress for the first time. Our presbyteros, who I've been told are very thankful for the opportunity to be here with their families, and for our retired clergy to be here. We subsidized their registrations. Their registrations were $200, yours were $700. Not possible had we not had the support of Leadership 100. I'd also like to mention that in total, over 2 years, 2024, 2025, $1.7 million in scholarships. Okay, that is a success. And we need to celebrate that. So we are going to put on, and I know Father Evagoras, if he's in the room, he might just come up here and, and sort of put his hands around my neck. We are going to be celebrating that with our recipients and with all of you, because supporting our youth and providing them with the financial resources they need to pursue their education, to be able to go to camp, is vital to the success and to the longevity of our church. Okay, I'm almost done. So you've all heard a lot about national ministry, and under the leadership of Theo Nikolaikis, who I've had the pleasure to work with, and he was a very talented and devout Orthodox Christian, and he has a lot of ideas, and he wants to operationalize all of them. But we don't have the resources to do all of them all at once. But what we have done are a few things. For those of you that have gone to some of the workshops on generosity, be it the planned giving workshop or stewardship workshops, that particular focus on generosity and thinking differently about how we meet our financial needs in the future are really going to be, for me, the secret sauce of how we move forward. We've put new resources into physical security and cybersecurity for our parishes. And you've heard about the establishment of the Dance and Choral Ministry as a national ministry. His Grace also spoke about the digitization project, putting together a national registry program. Again, thank you, Leadership 100. But we are also digitizing in other areas. Total commitment, for those of you involved with the total commitment process, we're digitizing the forms. Hopefully we'll be able to digitize the entire process going forward. We did a prototype for this past season. We are using more software, as I mentioned, with Salesforce. We're introducing AI into our work streams. And we have established the ability for all of our parishes to pay their total commitment electronically on a monthly basis. 30% of our parishes are allowing us to pull the money out of their bank accounts on a monthly basis to pay their TC, which means they're financially capable of doing so. And makes it obviously a lot easier administratively. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the captive because as Grace spoke about it, I mentioned it, it's working and it's available for us on a risk management basis. I do want to spend, though, a moment on the 403B plan. So I did a workshop yesterday on the 403B plan, but for all of you that weren't there, because I know you were not all there, let me just say a few things. His Eminence Archbishop of Pietrafort said to me at one point, you know, Elaine, we have to do something for our lay workers in our parishes and our school teachers. They don't have a retirement benefit, and they deserve one. We have a moral obligation to them. So, what was I to say? Okay, Your Eminence. Yeah, I'll look into it. Well, it wasn't as easy as I thought. It's very difficult to find providers that were willing to work with 500 parishes, with all sorts of different payroll systems, and administer a plan where they weren't going to end up at the end of the day with $100 million of assets under management, because that's what they're looking for. And we had some starts and stops, and finally I turned to Morgan Stanley, Archon Chris Fotis, who works with us also on the clergy pension plan. I said, Chris, we need help. And he said, you should have come to me first, Elaine. We do this. I never thought that Morgan Stanley would be also in the pension business working with multiple employer plans. And indeed, he helped us. And so now we have implemented in 2026 a pension plan available to all our parishes that allows you to cover your clergy as a supplemental pension benefit to the clergy pension plan, as well as your lay employees and your school teachers. You have the ability, it's a very flexible plan. You have the ability to match if you so choose. You can decide who you would like to match. You don't have to match all employees, or you can decide not to match. It's managed through Lincoln Financial, a large financial institution. Chris Fotis has offered his services on investment advice pro bono to participants. And the benefit of the plan, in addition to providing for the benefit is that the Archdiocese will pay for the first 3 years of administrative costs and implementing it. And yesterday, I had the advisor there with us in the workshop. And he said to me, Elaine, you know, I have worked with religious institutions for 16 years now, putting in these plans. I've never seen a religious denomination be so generous in providing and covering the costs in order to encourage participation. So I ask all of you, parish council presidents in the room, please reach out to us. Information is available to you. We were going to send it out again at the end of the Clergy-Laity Congress, and consider putting this plan in for the benefit of our clergy and our lay employees. As I said, I truly believe we have a moral obligation to do so. I know that Anastasia Economos is going to speak to our audit results, but I have to say, you know, as a treasurer, that no matter what work we do, if it is not affirmed by a third party, I don't sleep well at night. And so, and I'm not going to steal her thunder, but as you will hear, our audit results continue to be strong. And lastly, I want to just spend a few moments talking about what we can expect for the future. So for 2026, we expect that we will continue to be on the same course as we've been in the past. We will collect the total commitment. We're on track. We'll have positive cash flow and positive results. We want to aggressively implement the national ministry programs that you heard about during this conference. We obviously actively have to manage our legal exposure. We're doing the best we can. George Sugorakis, our legal counsel, the legal committee of the Archdiocesan Council are actively working with our outside counsel to manage through the process. We also have to address the aging facilities of our Archdiocese. We must embark on a capital campaign to address this issue. We do not have a capital budget. We have an operating budget, but we don't have a capital budget. And this deferred maintenance issue is a serious issue. I know there are, and it's not just the Archdiocesan buildings. We know we have the same issue at Helena College Holy Cross. Many of you in your parishes probably also have the same issue. But we need to have a process, a planning process around that. So, Your Eminence, I ask that we embark on that, please. And lastly, I just want to thank you for your trust, for allowing us to be stewards of your funds. And my commitment back to you is that we will continue to be as transparent and as accountable as we possibly can. So thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. That was quite the positive report. We appreciate all your efforts. At this time, we'll continue on, and we will hear from our audit committee, from our new chair, Anastasia Economos. Please join me in welcoming her to the podium.
Your Eminence, Archbishop Elpidoforos, Your Eminence, Metropolitan Arsenios of Austria, Your Eminence, Metropolitan Philotheos of Thessaloniki, Very Reverend Grand Archimandriti Iakovos, Your Eminences, Your Graces, Very Reverend Fathers, and beloved Presbyteras, my brothers and sisters in Christ. My name is Anastasia Economos, and I am honored to be the new Audit Committee Chair. The last time I presented to a Clergy-Laity Congress was 42 years ago in New York. A lot has changed since then. So, to begin, oh, hang on. Green, Elaine? Beautiful. So I would like to, Metropolitan Savas, thank you for your support and guidance on this committee, as well as all the members of the committee who are dedicated. And of course, Maria Stefanis, my predecessor, who laid a very, very solid foundation for this committee and for our efforts. So the good news is, and I'm pleased to report, as Elaine mentioned, that our auditors, BDO, issued on April 30th, issued a clean audit opinion, unmodified, which is obviously something we all look for. They did it, and with the help of our very, very dedicated finance department within 4 months, which is a goal that we would like to continue to meet. They did not report any material weaknesses, and you'll see on here, this was the 5th year in a row that the financial statements were issued within 4 months. And in doing that, timely reporting of financial results is tantamount to transparency and accountability, and that is something that we strive for. The other important fact that BDO shared with us is they had no identification of material weaknesses and truly did not have any recommendations for us, because the finance department, as small as it is, has a continuous improvement mentality, and that's what we all have to do in our parishes, at our metropolises, at the Archdiocese. The other responsibility of the audit committee is to assist the metropolises, because there was a requirement that was put in the 2025 UPO, if I remember correctly in terms of timing, with their financial reporting. So as you can see here, the DAD has completed their audit for 2025. The other metropolises that have done audits versus reviews, the requirement is either an audit or a review. An audit is a much higher level of assurance than a review is. So Atlantic, Chicago, Denver, and Pittsburgh all perform audits, and those were issued for 2024. Boston, Detroit, and San Francisco are conducting reviews, and those were also issued for 2024. The metropolis of New Jersey has had to deal with some transitions and is in the process of an audit for 2024. Their last issued review was for 2021. In terms of areas of improvement, as you can see at the bottom of this slide, the audit reports were issued between 4 and 9 months, and those are consistent in terms of timely reporting. The dioceses that are going out till 8 or 9 months actually have their reports ready for their Clergy-Laity conferences, which I think is very important and a good practice. Review reports were between 2 and 16 months. My opinion, a little bit too long. So to build continuous improvement mentality with the chairman of the audit committees of the metropolises, we will organize best practice sharing. I've heard a lot of great ideas from the audit committee chairs and the chancellors that I have had the opportunity to speak to since I became the audit committee chair. So we will be organizing opportunities for us to share and to collaborate. We will continue to encourage those dioceses or metropolises, who are doing reviews today to consider audits. We will take a look at what the cost is and see if there's a way to improve that efficiency of cost, and assist where we can, if it has anything to do with the finance department of the Archdiocese, to assist in improving the timeliness and the efficiency of their reviews. And last but not least, there is a requirement for the Archdiocese, and I should have reported that for the Archdiocese, the benevolent fund was reviewed by our auditors. There is such a requirement for the metropolises as well going forward, beginning with 2025. And we will assist with providing not just the metropolises, but the parishes with more guidance about how benevolent funds should be monitored. And that's it. That's all the good news I have. Oh, sorry. That was the last one.
It's okay. Thank you, Anastasia, for that wonderful audit report. The last of the reports under Finance will be given by the Chair of the Finance Committee. Please join me in welcoming Lou Kirkos to the podium.
I think so. I need to be sure I can see everything. Your Eminence, Archbishop Elpidophoros, esteemed representatives of the Ecumenical Patriarchate, Your Eminences of the Archdiocese of America, Reverend Fathers, Your Graces, brothers and sisters in Christ, welcome. I'm pleased to be able to update you on the work of the Finance Committee. And in this report, we will talk a little bit about 2017 versus now. Elaine touched on it, but the changes, the results are so wonderful that I like to repeat them. We'll talk about the pension funding status, and there, at that point, we will have a motion and review action that's required by this plenary session. We'll talk about how the CARA survey has impacted the proposed budget, but you've seen and heard a lot of that already from the ministry's director, Theo Nikolakis, so we'll cover it here in terms of the numbers. We'll talk about the 27 and 28 proposed budgets. There again will be a motion requiring the action of this session for approval of those budgets. I'm going to touch on the Parish Property and Liability Insurance Initiative because that's a program that we hope will assist parishes and save money on ongoing property and liability insurance costs. And of course, if there are any questions and comments, we will cover those. First, let me thank the members of our Archdiocesan and Metropolis Finance Committees, our presiding hierarch, His Eminence Metropolitan Nicholas. Thank you so much for your support, the support of all our metropolitans. The work of the Finance Committee could not be done without the support of our metropolitans, the work of the chancellors in carrying out all of the detail initiatives that have to be done, and then the work of the members of the finance committees themselves. So deep gratitude, deep thanks to all of you, and maybe a round of applause for them. Good, we like that. And of course, working with the Archdiocese, the support of His Eminence and the officers, you know, with Elaine Allen, you see the dedication. Elaine was a partner in Mitchell and Titus, and she retired to take on more work because excuse me. I think she works harder today than she did before. And for those of you that don't know it, you know, when we have meetings, she is in the archdiocesan offices, having driven there, been there all day, and paid for her own parking. So, Elaine, for all the commitment, all the work that you do, much gratitude, much thanks. Let's take a quick look and a quick review at some of the things that were mentioned, some that weren't. In terms of 2017, when some believed that the Archdiocese was on the verge of bankruptcy, to where it is today. First, there were significant issues with the restricted funds. All of the restricted funds now have been restored and properly used, and that is confirmed in all of the audits. The total commitment, which is up since that time just over 16%, but less than half the rate of inflation during that same period of time. There have been 8 years now of the Archdiocese living within budget, and as Elaine had said, and I'm repeating, that has never happened in the history of the Archdiocese. 8 years of living within budget, 8 years of on-time audits, 6 years with no audit committee comments. The outside auditors coming in, and in the first year of the completion of the 2017 audit, we received a book with I don't know how many comments, 50, 70, I don't remember the number, but a book of comments of things that needed or should have been addressed at the Archdiocese. All of them were addressed. And now, for 6 years, no comments, suggestions on any weaknesses or suggested improvements in internal control. The new pension program was put in 5 years ago, and we've had 5 years of pension funding in excess of the actuarially computed requirements. That's fantastic. Yes. The funding to Hellenic College, Holy Cross, is up 300% from what it was in 2017 at $3 million versus $1 million then. And the GOA budget this year, as we'll talk about, being realigned to address parish and priest priorities per the CARA survey. So let's take a closer look at pension. The program was changed in 2021, and why was it changed? Well, it was changed because it wasn't working. The funding was not enough. And the methodology that was being used of charging a flat amount per parish was unfair. There were 90 parishes that were contributing to total commitment, but weren't contributing to the pension program. So not everyone was participating in a way that they should. In addition to that, the information that was needed to understand where the funding stood, where parishes stood in the funding, that information wasn't being disseminated as frequently and in ways that made it useful for everyone that needed it. So the information distribution needed improvement. So what's the status now? 2025 represents the 5th consecutive year of meeting the budget support from parishes. And during those 5 years, there has been $5 million of funding in excess of the required annual amounts. 5 million more. Yeah. 1 million came from, you've heard this a lot before, 1 million came from Leadership 100. Thank you, Leadership 100. Another $1 million came from the Nicholas J. Burris Foundation. Thank you. And other amounts that were coming in excess of the required funding during those years, a total of $5.5 million. In January of this year, the major milestone crossed with the pension fund assets breaking the $100 million mark. And now, as was mentioned before, at the end of May, the pension plan being over 70% funded, and that compares to a target for 2026 of 57%, so significantly ahead of the targeted funding for this point in time, and we're going to touch on that a little bit more too. In this slide, you see on the left, I don't know if you can read it, but the first column that is highlighted is the funding percent that is projected for each year. And I'm having a little bit of a hard time seeing it, but that's 53% in 2020 when we began. In 2022, you see that with the significant market downturn that happened in 2022, the funding percentage actually dropped to 47. But since that time, with the new funding program, with the additional $5.5 million that went in above actuarial requirements, with the benefits of the strong market, now at 70.3%, and that 70.3% is the target for 2037. So at this point, 10 years ahead of where we have as established as a target for the current year, and that's a wonderful achievement. But another point I want to make from this slide is that you can see there will be ups and downs in the funding percent. As the market goes up and down, and the valuation of the assets goes up and down, that percentage funding can change. The important point and process, though, is that the plan, the structure that is in place for funding is working. And it has a long-term perspective that is designed to consider and compensate for the fluctuations that can take place in the market. So if we had a 15% market decline, you'd see that the funding percent would drop to about 58%, still about in line with where we should be today. But you can see that there would be fluctuations, and we don't need to panic about those fluctuations. They're going to happen. The market goes up and down, and over the long term, it goes up. And the plan is designed to take that into consideration over the long term. Another area that I wanted to touch on is the pension plan participants, because we sometimes hear that, oh, our clergy are aging and there will be a big wave of retiring clergy. So this slide gives you information about the active number of participants and their age in service. So you can see that although the number of active participants is down, the average age is about the same, right around 52 years. The average years of service, consistent, 16 years. And the percentage of priests, of plan participants over the age of 55 is exactly level at 13%. So there isn't a big wave of retiring priests that are about to hit the pension plan. Considering the status of the plan and the funding, the Finance Committee recommended that the changes in pension funding be decreased from the 2.3% to 2% for the coming 2 years in 2027 and 2028. And so I, at this point, move that resolution that the Congress adopt the recommendation that annual increases in benefits funding decrease from the 2.3% annual amount to 2% per year in 2027 and 2028.
There's been a motion presented by our chair of the Finance Committee. As you could see the motion on the board. Is there a second? Please stand up and say your name and parish, please.
Second, Ted Vagelos, St. Mark, Boca Raton.
Ted Vagelos, Boca Raton. Thank you. Is there any questions for the chair? Wonderful. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Resolution carries.
Thank you. Talk about the archdiocesan budgets. Then, however, before I go into the budgets and talk about the CARA survey, Father Michael Lambakis, the interim president of Hellenic College Holy Cross, will come up and give a brief statement about the current status and current funding of Hellenic College Holy Cross.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here, and Your Eminence, thank you for your leadership and guidance in this unexpected position over the past 90 days of interim president, but I thank you and the Board of Trustees for your trust and your guidance. I wanted just to give a brief overview, which is very, very positive for our school of Hellenic College Holy Cross. As you may know, it has been the shared objective of both the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese and Hellenic College Holy Cross to reduce the institution's reliance on the annual operating support of the Archdiocese and place the school in a strong and substantially better foundation. We believe the institution is making measurable progress towards that goal. The school's financial outlook has improved significantly over the past year through a combination of stronger enrollment, disciplined financial management, successful fundraising, and strategic long-term planning. These efforts are beginning to diversify our revenue and base and reduce dependence on the annual subsidy, which I might add was never intended to be a long-term subsidy. It was more of an emergency measure several years ago, and so we're trying to stabilize that. Our enrollment is very, very positive. Enrollment continues to exceed expectations and is one of the primary drivers for the fiscal year 2027 budget. For the fall semester, Hellenic College and Holy Cross has already received over 50 deposits, including 45 students who will reside on campus and another 40 on the Holy Cross side. So over 50 on Hellenic and approaching over 50 on the Holy Cross side. We are expected to have at least 15 to 18 students and families having to live off campus because our enrollment numbers are so wonderful. Thank you. This has been a financially strong year for Hellenic College and Holy Cross. Through May, the institution brought in $23.6 million in total revenue. That is 9.1 more than the approved budget of 6.3 million more at the same point as last year. The total expenses of our school were 16.1 million, and they are under control, and we continue to cut, as Elaine said, as they did in the Archdiocese. We are doing the exact same thing, and I can assure you, I spent 20 years at the Annunciation Cathedral in Houston prior to coming to the school, and we had the largest, if not the largest, I know Elaine might debate this, but the largest assessment in the Archdiocese. So I'm very well aware and attuned to the finances of a parish and certainly here at the school. And I might add, I have a vested interest in making sure things succeed because both my sons are students at Hellenic College and Holy Cross. The endowment and the investment portfolio are doing very, very well. The net investment return was $3.6 million compared to a budgeted amount of $642,000. That's due to great and strong financial markets, of course. Gifts and grants from donors, foundations, and other sources totaled $10.3 million. Versus the budgeted $5.7 million. This reflects an elevated pace of charitable giving, receipt of multi-year gifts and grants and awards that are just outstanding, bequests and so forth. Net tuition room and board was $5.1 million, exceeding the budgeted amount of $3.7 by $1.4 million. This reflects improved enrollment, better residential occupancy compared to what was assumed when the budget was set up. Scholarship support provided by the institution totaled $2.2 million, which helps offset the tuition. Thank you again to Leadership 100, and hopefully in the future we might come to you again, because the amount of students coming in is outstanding, so we can hopefully look at that scholarship in the future. This is just a brief overview. I don't want to kill you with numbers, but I can assure you that the school is on a wonderful trajectory under the leadership of the board and certainly His Eminence Metropolitan El Pidóforos. So I thank you for your time, and I'm happy offline later on to take questions, whatever the case might be. I encourage each and every one of you, if you go to the exhibit hall, the very first booth that you see right in the front is that of Hellenic College and Holy Cross. And there are some forms there. It's an advocate form. I encourage you, please, become an advocate of our school. I know you're asked to give to many, many different things, but the advocate is a recurring gift that you can offer, and particularly for our alumni and our former students. It is a great way to increase our unrestricted revenue to the school. And that's really what we need. And so we're going in a very positive direction. And again, Your Eminence, thank you for your trust and your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Michael, for the update. Can we get back to my slides? It will be here. There we are. Okay. In the budget process, before we talk about the budget, it's very important to cover the process so you know what goes into coming up with that budget and the oversight that's put there. The process begins with directions from His Eminence Archbishop El Pidóforos and the officers in terms of outlining priorities. There are significant finance committee meetings that take place, and part of that process is oversight and ensuring that the guidelines are being followed. This is critical to the success of meeting the budget as we go forward. The budget is a zero-based budget. That means each department is built up in terms of the costs that are required for that department and approved. There is no wishful thinking that's put in the budget. The revenue must be realistic, and the expense numbers must also be realistic, as evidenced by being built up in that zero-based budget process. All known events have to be considered. And in addition to that, there must be a general and legal contingency to cover the things that we don't know about, because we do know that there will be unexpected items that come forward that will require costs, and we don't want those items to be budget busters. So the proposed budgets for 27 and 28, the total commitment is budgeted to be up in line with inflation at 3.2%. The metropolis minimum funding is being boosted. We recognize that in the smaller metropolises, it is more difficult to meet their budgetary needs. So in addition to the increases that would come about as a result of the total commitment increase, there is an additional $50,000 being added to the amount of minimum support for each metropolis. The Hellenic College Holy Cross grant is at $3 million, which recognizes the progress at the school that you've just heard about. And the area of significant dollar increase within the budget is the parish and priest ministries support, where there is $700,000 or a 21% increase to bring in line the funding with the results and desires that came back expressed through that CARA survey. The additional pension support is being maintained at the $1.5 million. Captive insurance premiums now are being added to the budget at $500,000. So the contingency was reduced by $250,000. And the long-term goal of all of this is to reduce the long-term insurance costs and achieve a cost reduction. Looking a little bit more closely at the funding for the smaller metropolises, the minimum funding support, we see that in 2018, the amount was $440,000. With the current budget, it increases to $635,000, a 44% increase over that period of time. Total commitment itself has increased only 20% during that period of time. So you can see how there's an emphasis there in shifting and recognition of the costs at the metropolis level. Something that is still very frustrating to us because we know that that funding still isn't sufficient. But the funding for virtually every area that we talk about is not sufficient to meet the needs that those people involved would say should be met. We don't have enough funding overall at the archdiocesan level. We want to increase the funding to our school, and we continue to hear in places where funding increases must be met. So we're all facing challenges in terms of the amount of funds available versus the amount that we would like to have available to meet the needs. This slide shows in pie chart form where the funds from total commitment are going, and you see starting at the top the Ecumenical Patriarchate at $1.5 million, Hellenic College Holy Cross at $3 million, the metropolises at $7,150,000. Bottom right, the additional pension funding for $1.5 million, the property and liability, insurance and legal costs, you see at $2.8 million, the national church operations, and those are primarily non-discretionary costs, at $4.5 million. So then you come up to the top left corner where you see the items that become discretionary costs, if you will, the areas that we would like to increase as much as we can, the national church outreach and the parish and priest ministry support at $4.8 million or 17% of the total. Now, excuse me. Elaine talked about the restricted funds that come in, and with Leadership 100, which is the primary benefactor to the Archdiocese of restricted funds, His Eminence is able to identify the needs and where those funds would be directed. And as you see in this chart, where the funds go and the impact of those funds on the departmental budgets. The top portion there on the right-hand side, you see all zeros, that they're not impacted, no restricted funds going to those areas. And the largest benefactor of the restricted funds is the parish and priest ministry support items within the budget. Because as Elaine had mentioned earlier, within the total commitment archdiocesan budget, we're able to provide for people costs, but we're not able to provide for the actual ministries, the work that needs to be done then beyond that. So without the direction of those funds, the actual accomplishments of the parish and priest ministry areas would be minimal, because they need that extra funding to get the work done, and that's where the funds from the restricted donations are being directed. So with that, we have the, thank you, the budget as presented here, and in the material that is available to you on the website, very detailed budget, much more information on both the pension and the budget information. That's all available to you. This has been reviewed with the Finance Committee, the Archdiocesan Council, the Executive Committee. All of those have overwhelmingly approved and recommended that this budget be passed by the plenary session. So I would move that the Clergy-Laity Congress adopt the GOA budgets for 2027 and 2028 as presented here.
Thanks, Lou. The chairman of the Finance Committee has put forth a motion, as you see, to adopt the budget, the proposed budget. Although technically we don't need a second, I always like to get a second so that the delegates feel that they are involved. Is there a second? Can you please tell me your name and parish? Steve Salas from West Virginia, St. Spiridon, West Virginia. Seconds the motion. Discussion, questions, please rise. Please come to a microphone.
Hi, Zachary Karanasis from St. Nicholas, Tacoma, Washington. Was it National Church Outreach? Can you explain that a little bit more? The National Church Outreach, that's at 6.5 million. Can you give an explanation more what that includes?
This information, again, is included in the detailed numbers that are provided on the website. The National Church Outreach includes the Ecumenical Office, Assembly, support for the Assembly of Canonical Orthodox Bishops, the Office of the Archbishop, Archdiocesan Council committees and synodal meetings, and communications. Those are the major items within National Church Outreach.
Thank you. That satisfactorily answers that question. Commander Archon Limbarakis.
Anthony John Limbarakis, Church of the Annunciation, Elkins Park, Pennsylvania. And I want to congratulate His Eminence, the Archbishop, and Mrs. Allen for putting the priests who are in the front lines first and addressing the pension, increasing their pension levels, and that is manna from heaven. I'm very grateful as a PK. My mother, Presbytera Elizabeth, was widowed for 10 years, and she really depended on that monthly pension contribution. So I salute you and congratulate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Please, your name and your parish.
Good afternoon. My name is Anthony Palmieri. I am a member of the St. Luke's Greek Orthodox Church, Broomall, Pennsylvania. I am here today as a delegate of the Archdiocesan Council. As a member of both the Archdiocesan and Metropolitan Council, as well as all of the finance committees, I personally witness the financial difficulties the metropolises experience. I rise on behalf of our New Jersey Metropolis Council and respectfully ask in the form of amendment that the Archdiocese adjust the budget and remove metropolis expenses charged against the 25% metropolis operating allocation.
If I understand you correct, you're moving to amend the budget?
Correct.
Is there a second to that?
I second that.
Who said that?
Right here.
Okay, can you please state your name and your parish?
Father Christopher Stamen, St. Spiridon Cathedral, Worcester, Massachusetts.
Okay. So at this time, I'm going to ask that the finance chair and the treasurer address that because, as you know, these meetings have been taking place for months, and there will be an impact to any adjustment, and they have to explain what impact that will have and how we would adjust for that amendment. Okay, so I don't know who wants to go first, whether it's Lou or Elaine.
Point of order.
Okay.
The amounts received by the metropolises, the 25%, you saw the percentage is 30% earlier actually out of total commitment, but that amount is received by the metropolises through the payment of payroll, benefits, insurance, and other expenses for the metropolis. So the adoption of that would mean virtually doubling the amount that the metropolises received and taking away $7 million from the national budget, and that simply wouldn't be workable at all.
So, okay. So this amendment would result effectively in an increase in total commitment. This is not possible to be achieved through a reduction of expenses. As you saw, we don't have that level of discretionary expense within the budget. So if you're proposing that that those expenses be removed from the charge to the metropolis, effectively, you're talking about a $7 million increase in total commitment.
Yeah, in terms of dollars, that would require an increase in total commitment to parishes in the neighborhood of 30%.
Or a reallocation of funds. Or a reallocation of funds.
Or, well, I don't know where those funds would come from. Yes,
if I may speak.
Yeah.
So please state your name and your parish.
Of course,
Father.
I'll be pleased to. My name is Father Chris Flissoris in the parish of St. Anna in Roseville, California. First, when we had our informative meetings some time ago for each of the metropolises, I did ask the question within our forum if we would have an opportunity of modifying the budget, being that the Finance Committee was not meeting, in which we normally as a unified body do modify the budget, or at least make recommendations. And I was told that within this setting we would have that opportunity.
Yep.
So if that's not the case, or we're told that it would be simply an adjustment of total commitment of another $7 million, I don't think that's a fair answer. I think there should have been the forum for us to be able to speak about the allocation of funds, which honors the CARA survey as well, because as we're seeing an increase in the budget, what the CARA survey did not tell us is how those funds should be spent. That would be a further study for the next 2 years, which builds off the good work that the committee has done this year.
So we have to limit the questions and the conversation to this specific amendment only. You have a larger
which was addressing that comment, which was not my comment originally.
Okay. Yes.
But there
Yes.
should be a way of discussing this.
So we have this amendment on the floor now that's been seconded, and we'll have to vote on it. And if you want to rise to speak, you're either speaking for the amendment or against it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your Eminence, Archbishop Theophoros, Your Eminences, Reverend Fathers, my name is Anastasios Efstratiadis. I'm president of St. Thomas Greek Orthodox Church in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and I'm also chair of the Finance Committee of the Metropolis of New Jersey. I think that the metropolises have a financial need which is not met, and I know that the Archdiocese is doing very well, but I think we'll have to look at the metropolises also. And the charging of the funds against the total commitment has the result that the metropolises get very little. They're all having many ministries that they are servicing. And as they're all part of the same body, as St. Paul said, they all should receive the same care. I have to disagree with my chair, Luke Kirkos, who is, by the way, doing an excellent job. But that number of 7,150,000, I do not know where it came from. When I look at the total commitment of all the metropolises and the amount of money charged against their respective shares, only 3 metropolises received positive cash flow: DAD, New Jersey, and Atlanta. The rest of the metropolises not only didn't receive any funds, but they have a minus. They have a negative number that they owe money back. So I know the numbers, the total amount of those 3 metropolises that received money, I think is under $300,000 or thereabouts. So I don't know where the 7,150,000 came from. So I do not think this is going to be an increase on the total commitment. I agree with the idea that it should come from other sources. But I have to tell you, we're doing this because we want the entire Archdiocese to flourish. We do it and we raise those questions because of our faith in our Lord Jesus Christ, our loyalty to the Ecumenical Patriarchate, and our love for the Archdiocese and our metropolis.
Thank you.
May I speak to the motion
also? A couple
also?
comments in response to that. One, that the process for suggestions and changes to the budget is through the representatives of the metropolises, their finance committees, the Archdiocesan Council members, the Executive Committee members. So that if there are questions, comments, the better path is to have them reviewed with your metropolis finance committee, bringing them to the National Finance Committee, bringing them to the Archdiocesan Council, so that proposals can be properly analyzed and vetted. To deal with a proposal like this that changes so much, everything, without any proper analysis and without the thought is not good practice in my view. So there is a process, and that process is there through the representatives that all of the parishes have through the metropolises and through the Archdiocesan Council.
Can I answer that? Because we did.
That's one. It's not a debate. It's not a debate. I'm sorry. You're able to speak and.
By the point of personal.
Okay. The other fact in response to your question in terms of what's happened with the amount of total commitment checks that have been issued to metropolises, the spending at the metropolises has grown much faster than the increases in total commitment. And therefore, the amount that is available through total commitment isn't as much as it was for them in the past. The spending at the Archdiocese has stayed within the increases that have come from total commitment, but the spending at the metropolises has grown much faster. And that means that there is less to send out in terms of the sharing because the amount has already been paid out through the increases in salary, benefits, and other costs at the metropolises.
Yes, Father, please state your name again and your
Once
parish.
again, Father Christopher Stamus, St. Spiridon Cathedral, Worcester, Massachusetts. I would like to echo the words of Mr. Kirkos that this was not a good practice at all to bring the budget to this place, having already determined what it was in online meetings that many of us could not attend. I mean, it gave nearly everyone that I know the impression that something devious was happening. And I'm sorry to use that word, but it seemed very secretive the way that it was held. This is the forum for that debate.
With respect,
On that point,
I only will entertain, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Father, with respect, I will only entertain
I will comment on the motion.
on the amendment
On the amendment to the motion.
Either you're speaking for or against. and
Yes,
that's all.
I'm speaking for the motion.
For the amendment.
For the amendment, yes. I would like to recommend that the $100,000 assessment to the metropolises be rescinded. I would like to also recommend that the 25% split be made a 35% split so that the metropolises who are closer to the place of the ministry are receiving the greater funding.
You're changing the amendment, so you have to speak to the amendment as was moved and seconded.
I'm in favor of the amendment.
Okay, thanks.
So that these other things may take
Thank you.
place.
Yes, Father, say your...
Father Aaron Walker, St.
Yes.
Spiridon's in Newport, Rhode Island. Simply a request that we could take our time and put the amendment as it's proposed on the screen so we could all read it and know what we're discussing.
Who's going to... So, Anthony, can you restate it so we could have it typed up? Who's taking this?
Is Father Ev around? Where's Father?
Hold on, Anthony. Father Ev? Oh, okay. Is someone going to jot that down for us? Thank you. Go ahead, Anthony.
As member of the Archdiocesan and Metropolitan Council, as well as all finance committees, I personally witnessed the financial difficulties of the metropolises. I rise on behalf of our New Jersey Metropolis Council and respectfully ask in the form of amendment that the Archdiocese adjust the budget and remove metropolis expenses charged against the 25% metropolis operating allocation.
Thank you.
Nick.
I can't let you speak again. I see somebody else. Stephanie?
Nick,
Yes.
on the motion, we need clarity as to what expenses is he talking about, because payroll gets charged. I mean, that's the whole reason for the 25%.
Okay.
So
That's
we
a
need
good
clarity.
point.
Because expenses is not descriptive.
Did you understand what Elaine's question was?
Yeah, all expenses is what we're talking
Okay,
about.
they're saying all expenses.
Including payroll.
Okay, does that mean then you are paying for your own payroll?
No, that you're paying.
Because we can't pay for your payroll from funds that you're not paying us for, because it's you, then they would be your costs. So if you want to take the payroll out and then you're covering it, that's one thing. But to suggest 25%, you're suggesting 25% of the revenue coming into the Archdiocese be given back to the metropolis and we cover your payroll. Is that what you're suggesting in this amendment? I just want clarity, that's all, Tony.
I'm suggesting all of it. From the 75% that we send to the Archdiocese. Don't forget, the money comes from the parishes.
Right, but we pay your payroll. We pay your payroll. So you'll pay your own payroll. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm suggesting that the Archdiocese picks up the expenses that the metropolis operates through out of the 75% that they receive from the parishes.
Okay, I see Stephanie. Stephanie's waiting.
Everyone was taller than me, sorry. I'm hearing a lot of emotion.
State your name.
Sorry, Stephanie Clark from
Thank
Holy
you.
Resurrection. I'm also a member of the Archdiocesan District Council as well as the Archdiocesan Council. I have a lot of love for my parish, my metropolis, as well as the Archdiocese. And I understand that we're all struggling with this, but we have a very intricate and involved budget. And what I'm hearing from the two people who know the budget the best is that there's no way to cut that expense without having some proportionate reaction, correct? And given the intricacies of the budget, is there any way to effectuate that without cutting? Because one of the things that I've been hearing consistently throughout this Clergy-Laity is excitement and enthusiasm at every workshop, at every panel, in every personal interaction with the positive changes that have been made, with the new programs and initiatives that have been projected, and we don't want to lose that.
So $7 million would eliminate all of national ministry. It would require us to fire additional archdiocesan staff members. We'd basically be firing half the staff. That was what $7 million would require.
So basically what I'm hearing is it would require further amendment to require an increase in the income through total commitment. Is it? I mean, that's what I'm hearing.
Are you gonna answer? I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought Lou was answering.
Oh,
sorry.
Oh, he's.
Where is Lou?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Was that?
Go ahead. You want to come? Yeah, I didn't quite get it either.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't quite get your question. If you could repeat that then.
So given the intricacies of the budget, what I'm hearing is that we would require to further amend the amendment to increase total commitment to cover the commensurate expenses. That would be.
Yeah. In 2017, 2018, when the budget needed to be balanced and spending established in line with the revenues, as Elaine talked about, over $7 million was cut. Metropolises, other areas were not required to make any reductions in their areas. So since that time, then operating with this very skeletal budget at the archdiocesan level, the amendment as suggested has a cost in excess of $7 million, which is the equivalent of approximately 25% of total commitment. So in order to cover that and maintain the current activities of the Archdiocese, it would need an additional 25% increase in total commitment. I don't think that's not something I would recommend doing. I believe that the budgets that we have here, I mean, as we've said and gone through, are appropriate budgets for our national church. And as a member of 3 parishes, a metropolis council, and the Archdiocesan Council, when I look at budgets and I look at the impact, personally I try to take into account the impact and what is best at every level of the church. I'm not an archdiocesan only person. I represent, as I mentioned, I participate on 3 parishes. I'm on 2 parish councils, the Metropolis Council. I know the impact of all of these things across the metropolises, so I don't say these things lightly in terms of the impact on them. And what is very frustrating to me is that this would come up on the floor of the plenary session rather than coming up through the Metropolis Finance Committee, the Archdiocesan Council, and all of the meetings that have been held related to budgets at that point. In my view, this is not the place to be considering this kind of major, major, major restructuring and change to the budgets.
Mr. Secretary, I rise, Carl Hollister, member of the Archdiocesan Council, Executive Director of the St. Photius Greek Orthodox National Shrine that you all need to visit in St. Augustine. I rise against this amendment. And the reason is quite simple. Nobody wants to see how sausage is made, but they all want it on their pizza, okay? As Lou has articulated, we have members that are appointed on the Metropolis Finance Committees that have an opportunity to be involved with the Archdiocesan Finance Committee. We have an Archdiocesan Council meetings. We have multiple forums throughout the year. And we should give the credence for what Elaine has put together, what Lou and his team have put together, what Michael Saros has helped save this archdiocese, and continue moving forward as this budget prepares us for. This budget is a continuation of work since 2017. Everyone remembers what happened in 2017. We dug ourselves out of a hole. It's this type of thinking that we're getting with input from many of you in this body throughout the year. If you choose not to participate throughout the year, you don't get to pick one day a year to be a member of the Finance Committee. That's why I stand against this.
Thank you, Carl. Father?
Father George Callis, Metropolis at Pittsburgh, and all the other Metropolis Council, Archdiocesan Council, Finance Committee, the Budget Committee, IT, Administration, and a few other things, because every time I talk to Teo, he volunteers me for something else. I rise against the motion. It's not an idea. We are a small metropolis. We can use every dime we can get. We struggle to give cost of living adjustments to the staff. And His Eminence's choice every time is, I'm going to do the right thing, and then we're going to go out and raise the funds for it. And yes, doing that on top of collecting for the national commitment is a lift, but it's a necessary lift because as much as I love the ministry that we do at the metropolises, and as much as we have an attitude at the metropolis that people find Jesus in the parish, there are things that we cannot do that must be done, and they must be done at the national level, and they are done competently by a staff with a high level of expertise and a high level of commitment to Christ. Many people on the staff perform excellent work, produce excellent product at below a pay rate that what they would get in the private sector for the same kind of work, and working longer than 40 hours a week. We have to have the national ministries for the purposes that they are good for, and this budget isn't enough for what's needed at the national level, just as our budget isn't enough at the metropolis level, and the parish budgets aren't enough for what are needed at the parish level. We recognize, let's start, it's a bottom-up stewardship problem and a top-down stewardship problem. You're doing what you can to address the stewardship issues at the national, and we have to do what we can at the local level. So I'm 100% against the way that this is proposed. I think it's, again, it's not an idea. I want more support, not this way.
Thank you. Doc.
Mr. Chairman, Your Eminences, I'm Dr. Ted Vlahos from Clearwater, Florida.
also on the Metropolis Council of the Metropolis of Atlanta and the Archdiocese Council. I understand the merits of increasing the support to the metropolises, and I'm behind that. I also understand the merits of allowing debate and allowing people to express their opinions, but as you said, there was a forum for that. Perhaps in the future we can make that a little clearer as to how the participation goes so that we have the flow. Because you're right, this is not the place to make the sausage. That being said, there's also an inherent flaw in the amendment itself, and I rise against the amendment, because the amendment only increases the spending in one area without a concurrent decrease in another. So if you wind up passing the amendment, you can't vote on the budget because it no longer balances. You have to show where you're going to take it away from. Otherwise, we've just thrown out the entire work of the Finance Committee for the whole year. And I don't think anybody wants to do that. So I'm 100% against it.
Thank you. So, housekeeping item. If you're standing at a microphone, you will be heard. No one else, please rise to the microphone. Okay, we're going to limit the for and against. Yes.
Your Eminence, I'm Evelyn Klund. I'm with St. Nick de Adios Church, Charlotte, North Carolina. I am on the Metropolis of Atlanta Council. I stand against the amendment. I think it is a methodology. Okay, I can't talk. The method of the way we handle things has to be evaluated deeply to consider that. As a Metropolis Council member, of course, we'd like the money. Chad spoke eloquently on that. But we're not ready. We're not ready to take on the ministries it would suggest we have to do. It's inefficient because we can now have one area where things are done as His Eminence said a minute ago. So we're not ready to even receive the money at the metropolis level. Then we would have how many versions of some ministry instead of one well-defined process that we use in the whole country. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Louis Demas from Annunciation Church in Sacramento, California. I'm here to oppose the motion, not because I understand the merits of it one way or another. You do have rules, and that's what's come forth and explain it. But I think today, and especially with our digital ability, if they wanted to bring a motion, although they have a right to do it, what they should have been done is give you advance notice and give you the opportunity to explain it to us, and so we do it. It places an unfair burden on the delegates to understand something so complex, and I would call for the question.
I'm going to leave it go. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Dr. Kerry Limbarakis, St. Luke, Broomall, Pennsylvania. I call the question.
Well, I'm not going to call the question because I promised I would let the people standing speak. And here's our last speaker. So thanks for trying.
Dimitri Azioz's Archangel Michael Church, Port Washington, New York. Your Eminences, your Graces, Archbishop Elpilofortos. I rise against the proposal because we're only talking about one side of the ledger. We're not balancing it. We're not talking about both sides. Math has to work, and it doesn't work, and I rise against the motion.
Thank you. So, having had extensive discussion, questions and answers, everybody sees the amendment. We're voting only on the amendment now, which is to remove metropolis expenses charged against 25% operating allocation. All those in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Nay. In the opinion of the chair, the nays have it. Let's go back to the original motion. The amendment is defeated. We go back to the original motion, which is to adopt the budget as proposed. Any other questions with regard to the budget as proposed?
Yes.
Yes, Father.
Father Pondelemon from Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, Saints Constantine and Helen.
It's a fairly high elevation budget. Is there any money in the budget that goes to like assembly type ministries? Really what I'm thinking of is like the Orthodox Christian Mission Center. Because I remember 6 or 8 years ago, it was very clearly, there was a line for OCMC, and I can't decipher what you've given us at that level.
Okay. Elaine's going to answer that. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, there is money for a variety of assembly institutions. Certainly, we provide funding for the assembly itself. We're the largest contributor to the assembly. That's in the budget. Also, other institutions such as OCF, the Orthodox Christian Ministry for our college students, and then, Father, philanthropy. Through the philanthropy line, we do provide for requests. So if there was a request or a specific grant request, for example, OCMC, that was provided to the Archdiocese, we would review that, and to the extent there's available funding in our philanthropy budget, which is about $100,000, it could be funded through that line.
Am I right in remembering that I could swear 6 or 8 years ago, maybe there was like $250,000 line item for OCMC? Just for OCMC, forget about assembly more broadly.
Yeah, that was probably in the 2026 budgets that all had to be significantly revised because, as you know, we weren't balancing our budgets at that time.
Sure. I don't want to change anything, but I would say, I always tell my parishioners that, if I want to know what matters to you, just give me your visa statement and your checkbook, and I can tell you in a matter of minutes. And I will say this, actually, recently, I was on the OCMC website, and do you know how many missionaries we have through OCMC right now that are at least the ones on the website? We have 15. 15. And I went to the Baptist conference. Now, they're bigger, right? So I did the math. So what I did is actually looked at the number of missionaries they have, which is about 3,600. And I divided it by the number of parishes they have. So I got an accurate relative number, right? We have 15 missionaries. If we were doing the same as them, given the fewer number of parishes, we would have 186 missionaries. So that's a problem.
Of course. Father?
Yeah.
His Eminence would like to address.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Father, for raising this, because you give me the opportunity
I'm going to sit with your respect.
To say a few things that we tend to forget. If the Assembly of the Bishops financially today is alive, it's because of GOA. We are the main sponsors. Go and see the finances of the Assembly and see who is paying the payrolls, who is the biggest contributor, and go to the budgets. I don't know if they can be discerned in the budgets of the different ministries of the Assembly, like OCMC, and see who are the people who support. It's GOA people. And I don't remember those who are around longer than I am only the last 7 years. When was the last time that you saw a missionary bishop among us at the Clergy-Laity Congress? We have the Metropolitan Joseph of Buenos Aires. The last years, together with my brother hierarchs of the Holy Eparchial Synod, we hosted so many bishops and metropolitans from mission, from Africa, from South America, from Korea, from New Zealand, and we support them. So mission and assembly and pan-Orthodox unity is very high on our priorities. So don't just focus, if you see a line item on the budget about mission or OCMC here in the assembly, look at the bigger picture and you will see that we are there. And thanks to you, you do that.
Thank you, Your Eminence. Father, I was going to recognize you next. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Father Chris St. Anna Parish in Roseville, California. And again, thank you to the committee for the work that's been done, and especially the CARE report that's given so much good information. Building off the enthusiasm of the Congress, the one line I would like corrected, and I'd like to make an amendment, and I'll make a suggestion of where the money's come from, would be for safety and security. We currently have that budgeted at $12,000 a year, and that's for the Freedom Ministry and the work that's taking place online. Father Peter Spiro came to our community, did a magnificent presentation. The work that's being done is well worth our support, especially since it was called out earlier in the day that it is something that should be not be funded, but something that all of us should embrace as a ministry. I would make the amendment or the motion, however it's supposed to be phrased, that we increase that line item by $100,000 and that we decrease, if it's either PR or communications, by $100,000.
Father has made a motion to increase the security budget by $100,000.
Correct.
And then reduce another line item, which was?
I suppose it would either be PR or
by
communications.
$100,000. Is there a second? Wait.
No, he doesn't have the facts.
Wait.
Correct.
There's no second.
Wait.
And I'm sorry, just for clarity.
Seeing no second, you cannot make the amendment, so we'll move on.
Your Eminence, hierarchs, my name is Elizabeth Bartz. I'm a delegate from Annunciation, Akron, here in Ohio. And I just really want to get a point of clarification. One, I'm going to support the budget because it's $357. But we really didn't have this opportunity to really have the discussion. And as a member of my Metropolis Council and my Metropolis Finance Committee, I'm getting the feeling that I must have missed an email about a Zoom meeting. And were we invited to that, or was it just the Archdiocesan Finance Committee?
Everyone.
Yes, I get a lot of emails, and I don't want to sit here like Hillary Clinton and say, oh, I missed it. But I really don't think I got one.
Everyone was invited.
Well, you stole the show. Thanks. Elaine, are you going to?
Yes.
I think you should answer that.
Yeah, I will answer it. So everyone was invited. It went to all of the metropolises, and we asked the metropolises to send it out also to all the parish council presidents and all the Bryce Damoni.
Nobody else.
So that's our, what you're pointing out, though, Elizabeth, is another issue that we have that we need to address, and that is how we're able to distribute information so that everyone that needs it is getting it. It is a challenge for us. We're trying to find digital software solutions that allow for that, and that requires sharing of information from the parishes to the metropolises to the archdiocese. So it's entirely possible that you were missed, but it was not intentional. It could just be what I described.
Thanks, Elaine. Who's next over there? No more speakers, please. We're going to call the question.
So if I could be recognized on behalf of Elias Gatufis, who is one of our deaf delegates who has written something for me to read. Elias is from Archangel Michael Church in Lecanto, Florida.
Thank you,
and
Teo.
his comment is, I was very happy that the Go Arch leadership has boldly moved to expand ministries to welcome all sheep to Jesus, the Good Shepherd. I ask you all to please prayerfully make the right decision that would bring even more sheep to Jesus. If I may.
Go ahead, Teo. Final word.
Final word. So Teo Nikolakis, St. Barbara Greek Orthodox Church, Orange, Connecticut. And to speak to Father Christopher's point is not only is safety and security a priority, it is one of the strategic items that we hope to go to Leadership 100 for this grant cycle. It is not something that we hope to remain at simply the $15,000 mark, but to continue to make investments in this area because it is an absolute strategic priority for the national ministries that we do not intend to abandon. Thank you.
And I would just I would also just like to add that when you're looking at the operating budget and that you see a relatively small amount, if we don't have it up on the screen here, there is restricted funding available for that. So the total amount that we expect to expend in 2017 is more like $100,000.
Thank you. After that extensive discussion, questions, answers, the motion is to put forth to approve the GOA budget as presented. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any against? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Motion carries. The budget is adopted. You have something else there?
Yeah, I've got it. I still have a bit more in the presentation.
You do?
I do. Yeah. Excuse me. Thank you. There is just a little bit more that I need to review, but I would also say, because many of you wouldn't know or have seen it, that youth safety is in the budget for an additional $170,000. So that's in the budget as well. And moving on, wanted to touch the last point is on the parish insurance program. And I need to advance the slides to be able to do that. I only have a couple, so we'll wrap up quickly. But it's an important subject. The National Insurance Program, this is for parishes for the property, liability, workman's compensation insurance that you have. This program would be a completely voluntary program. Your insurance agent and broker would stay involved. The coverage that is provided would be tailored to our faith and the items of risk that we have and take into account specifically areas within the parishes that are important in terms of coverage. The insurance company that would be selected would be very high grade, and the overall goal of this really is to provide better insurance coverages for parishes at a lower cost. Now, to get that accomplished, there's information that is needed. You would be asked to provide 5-year loss runs. This is easy to get from your insurance agent, this information. The 5-year loss runs, the address and location and value of each structure, building that you have, your estimated annual payroll, and the number of stewards. There will be put together and available soon after this Congress an online survey to provide this information. The survey itself commits you to nothing. In order to evaluate this, though, we need information from approximately 200 parishes, and after that, 125 parishes approximately would need to sign up to make it a viable program. Completely voluntary, again, and the Archdiocese receives nothing as from the sign-up. There is no commission back to the Archdiocese, so your participation in this is very important. I would urge you, submit the information, get a quote, then decide what you'd like to do. Thank you very much. And again, I thank all of you, the Finance Committee, and everyone for all your work. Your Eminence Metropolitan, Your Eminence Archbishop Elpida-Foros, Your Eminence our presiding hierarch Metropolitan Nicholas, and all the members of the Finance Committee. Thank you.
Hold on, don't go anywhere. Okay. You have a question, Father?
Yeah.
Please state your name and...
Father Ted Topsis, Braintree, Massachusetts, St. Catherine's. Lou, just a quick clarification question, because I had the unfortunate experience of one of my neighboring parish priests many years ago did misconduct, unfortunately. Is this type of coverage, so just so I know, the Archdiocese has insurance for the Archdiocese and the metropolises, and we have coverage individually for the liability of the parish? Just a clarification question. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so the Archdiocese and Metropolis is, you have a policy for it to cover all of that, and then we have our own individual, and this program is individual just for the parishes?
That's correct.
Okay.
But what's important, what we've asked the parishes before, is to provide the certificates of insurance and name the Archdiocese and metropolises as additional insureds. Because anytime anything happens anywhere, the metropolis and the Archdiocese are automatically included.
So even though we have our own policy, we would add the metropolis and the Archdiocese?
That's right. There's typically zero cost to that. It's just letting your agent know that you need as additional insureds the metropolis and the Archdiocese.
Sorry to keep everybody here. Thank you for your clarification.
That information will all be part of this, and I urge you really take the survey, find out whether it works for you, and then decide.
Any other questions? Unsolicited, I'm an insurance defense lawyer. I highly recommend that the parishes join this captive. You will really recognize savings in your premiums, and we'll have more buying power to get much better premiums and lower deductibles at the end of the day. That's unsolicited, just my personal 2 cents. This concludes our reports. We are on the next item of agenda, which is old business. If anybody would like to address any old business, this is the opportunity for the delegates to bring those forth. Seeing none, does anybody would like to address new business? If there's something that one of the delegates or any of the delegates would like to address, seeing none, this concludes our plenary session. Oh, okay. One sneaky lawyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to ask...
State your name.
Oh, I did say previously, but I'm Anastasios Stratiadis, President of St. Thomas Greek Orthodox Church, member of the Metropolitan Council of Metropolis of New Jersey. I would like to the Finance Department to consider, when they work on the next budget, the concept of providing more support for the metropolises and go through the process. As a point of personal privilege, I would like to state that it is our Clergy-Laity Assembly of the Metropolis that unanimously asked for that, and they actually wanted to increase the percentage to 35%. And the day that motion was passed, I sent it to Mr. Tsugarakis, and he told me he was going to push it to the Archdiocesan Council. So it's not that we did not go through the process. It is not that we had an idea, we just came up and presented it. So we do appreciate the process, and we do go through it. Thank you.
Duly noted. Any other new business? Wonderful. Seeing none, this concludes the plenary session. If I offended anybody, I ask for forgiveness. Your Eminence, the closing prayer.
Let us say the common prayer, the common closing prayer of our church. My closing remark will be heard at the banquet. Διευχών των Αγίων Πατέρων ημών, Κύριε Ιησού Χριστέ ο Θεός, ελέησον και σώσον ημάς. Amen. Thank you.
Just a fun, quick announcement for everybody. If you're staying at the Hotel Cleveland, there's been a little bit of a leak somewhere in the hotel, and there's currently, the water's been turned off so that they can try and identify where the leak is. So, I know, but we're working on it, and it's going to be great. So, if you need to use the bathroom, there's a lot of bathrooms here before you head back to the Hotel Cleveland. But I promise you, we're on tonight for the banquet. It's going to be great, even after I have to bring a hose in. Thank you.